It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy.
It's time to take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and more than 15 podcast platforms. We also invite you into the studio each week via YouTube. Subscribe and watch each episode on our YouTube channel at Turner O'Neill Podcast. Thanks to our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. And our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by me, DJ Krissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Here's your host, Kurtis Cross.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Kurtis Cross, your host, and with me as always is Coach Steve Turner and Coach Casey O'Neill. Our engineer is DJ Krissy, and together we welcome you into the studio for this week's episode. Our premier partner for Season 2 is Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray is a friend of the program, and he is the only mortgage lender we endorse right here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ray Cruz is mortgages intelligently. We'd like to thank our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and the Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. This week, we welcome Mr. DC Sports, the longest tenured sportscaster in the area, and fellow Montgomery Blair alum, Chick Hernandez. But first, on this snowy Monday, fellas, how are we doing this week?
Great. Excited to DJ got our snow.
She did.
It's still coming down.
And it's still coming down.
We left the studio and it was coming down last week.
We're leaving. We got her in a happy place.
Yes, you do.
So maybe that means no dings. Means we could be all right today, Coach.
I can't speak on the dings.
Whoa.
She's not promising no dings, it sounds like.
See?
I'm not saying a word.
But you know me, Mental Health Monday. Excited to be back with the crew. Let's have a great episode today.
Coach O'Neill.
What can I say? It's snowing. Took the daughter sledding today. She was on fire. Each year, it's funny, you see your kids each year, they get a little bit more stamina with the sledding. You know, age 3.
A little more daredevil as well?
A little more daredevil, a little more into it. You know, usually that mountain eventually wins. A couple years ago, it won after one ride. Now she's getting 10 or 12 and going a little quicker. But you know what? Had a great weekend. A lot of fires, a lot of family time. I'm pumped for today. I am so pumped to talk to Chick Hernandez. But I'll say this. A lot of things shut down when it snows. People, we got to stay in.
Right.
Not the mailman. I'm pulling up here. I saw your mailman. Let's give him a shout out. What's his name?
His name is Bob. He huffs it up the road, doesn't he?
Bob was out there, man. You know, his nose a little red, right? A little cold out there. He's just getting it done.
He's been there. I've lived here 19 years. He was here before me.
And I, as I'm pulling up, apologies for not remembering his name. Name Bob. I should remember the name Bob. But he was out there working. Shout out to all those people, not only the essential workers, but the mailmen. They're out there every day.
They
Rain,
are.
snow,
so, you know what? You walked
whatever.
into this one. I have my starting 5, but I had a 6th one I wanted to ask. I'm like, I'm going to forget it next week, but I will bring it up now. We're just going to fire off one right now.
Okay.
Mail carrier on a day like today or roofer on a 100-degree day?
Oh.
Which one do you want? Or in any kind of elements with the mail carrier, pouring down rain. up these hills.
I grew up working construction.
Okay.
Family business, O'Neill Development.
So you know what the roof feels like.
I've been on those roofs. Am I saying that right? Is it roofs?
Roofs.
In the hottest of July days that you can imagine, and in the coldest of days. But I'm going to go with this because of there's no ding now. I'm going to go mailman. I'm going to go mailman today.
Come on, man.
I'm going to go mailman today because I've been on that roof before, and it is not only it's scary because you're so high up, but it is hot, man.
Coach Turner, you going on the roof or you going in the snow?
I'm going in the snow.
He's going in the snow.
Going in the snow. That's simple.
You ain't messing with that heat.
I mean, basketball season's in the winter.
I mean, come on.
That's your time.
But you got to remember, we used to run Purple Eagle Camp out on the tennis courts.
That is true.
100 degrees outside.
I'd
before
rather
they started
do that.
making everybody into babies and saying we got to be in the AC.
So that sun hit the tennis court and bounced right back up on you,
we
didn't it?
sweating. Let's go. Let's get it in.
Yeah, but
You can't do it anymore.
You could be in shorts and sneakers. You're on that roof. You got work boots on.
Nah,
and,
the roof.
Yeah.
We ain't doing that.
Coveralls. And,
we ain't doing that.
So
Give me the
DJ
snow.
Krissy, you asked for the snow and you got it. How was your weekend?
I did my snow dance,
Okay.
and it worked out.
Okay. It's
enjoyed
still
it.
working out.
You know what? I must have put a little extra something on that snow
You
dance.
did the snow dance, but no snow angel. We're waiting on the snow angel. Coach Turner was asking for the picture.
He did. I didn't even mention it to you, but she did not do a snow angel.
No, I did not.
Well,
I did.
I know
but
what we're
you
doing
know,
after the show.
I did have the fireplace on. I enjoyed some
Nice.
hot cocoa.
That's what a snowy winter weekend is all about.
Yeah, got the windows open,
Hot toddy?
watched the snow falling.
All right.
That's how you do snow.
So that's what she did. That was your weekend. Before we go to break, look, I want to thank once again Ben Rubio, head coach of the PLL's Atlas Lacrosse Club, for joining us in last week's episode. It was our pleasure to welcome Lacrosse Talk to the podcast. If you missed one heck of an episode, go back and check out last weekend's episode 4 on your chosen podcast platform. For those who are new to the podcast, we welcome you to what we call Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. Our podcast is sports-based with the occasional subject matter that we feel must be addressed. With each week, I am joined in the studio by coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Both of these gentlemen are mainstays at Gonzaga College High School right here in Washington, D.C., competing in what I think is, if not the toughest, one of the toughest competing conferences in the country, the WCAC. Coach Turner leads the basketball program, and Coach O'Neill serves as assistant athletic director and leads the lacrosse program at Gonzaga. They bring their experience and their podcasting talents into this studio each week. We have a catalog of 30-plus episodes, so thumb through our archives, and we hope you become a loyal listener, subscriber, and follower of the program. Let's hit our first break, and we will be back with this week's headline.
Body and Beyond Wellness is acupuncture and wellness consulting. Our peaceful oasis is nestled just outside the Washington, D.C. Beltway. Our acupuncture treatments, workshops, and other wellness offerings will have you feeling restored, renewed, and revived. A limited appointment schedule is now available, but you must call in advance to schedule. Call 301-758-7980 or visit www.thebodyandbeyond.com for more info. Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill can be found on more than 15 podcast platforms. Listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. Tune in on your preferred podcast platform. Be sure to listen, subscribe, and spread the word. Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill records weekly with episode drops each Thursday at 11 a.m.
Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Shane Benson, Todd Bradley, Paula Cross, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Daniel Richard, Noah Richard, Andrea Terrones. If you would like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. One Headline is brought to you by
The Tamara Cusick Team. Ready, set, sold. Real estate is more than just houses. It's about people too. The Tamara Cusick Team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. The Tamara Cusick Team isn't just a partner. They literally sold us the home where the Take It to Yo broadcasts from each week. Visit www.tamara4homes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. Welcome back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. This week's headline, the NFL coaching hires are in. While I do not know most of the names that have been hired, one name that I do know is Eric Bieniemy, and he remains available with no team hiring him. Bieniemy has been in the Chiefs organization since 2013, and for the past 3 seasons has been their offensive coordinator. The Chiefs are number 1 or near the top in passing yards, total TDs, their offensive rating, and in first downs, while giving up among the fewest sacks and throwing very few picks. Need we remind the NFL that this is a team that is now in their second straight Super Bowl? What's the knock on Eric Bieniemy? He's 51. He's got experience. And I'm seeing coaches hired who were last at Colorado State and spent 2 years under somebody, and they're getting, and they're 39 years old. And did you see the Philly coach's press conference?
Oh, train wreck.
Did you see that, Steve?
I did.
DJ Krissy, if you didn't see it, he's like, so we're going to be smart and we're going to simplify the playbook because when we have easy plays, then the guys can show their talents better, but we're going to be smart. What the hell did he just say? And he got the job? That was your first choice?
Right.
It's unfortunate that in this world that we live in, that we
that's funny to Krissy.
It starts becoming black white, and as a black man, I'm saddened and upset that he's not hasn't been afforded the opportunity, especially when he's proven himself. I hope that it'll change. I hope that he will get an opportunity somewhere here down the line, but it's kind of screwed up that he didn't get his opportunity here with all the changes that happened in this season.
Yeah. Look, my hope in this situation, because this seems like a recurring theme for years and years, right? I think, how many minority head coaches are there? 4 or 5? Think of Mike Tomlin.
You fired half of them.
More than Flores, head coach.
More than half of them got fired this year.
The head coach in Miami, right?
Right.
The Chargers coach got fired. I can't remember his name. So it's been a recurring issue with this. Here's my hope.
Give me a second, Krissy. Turn the line up.
I think I got 3 or 4 of them. Ron Rivera is a minority coach. I guess they've listed him as that. So, what are you going to play the
sound? Yeah.
Well, let me finish my thought before you play his thing.
All right, go ahead.
In this situation, I hope at least with Bieniemy that it's something where I hope behind the scenes is like, I'm good with what I'm doing. Because some guys maybe just don't want to. That's my hope.
I would hope.
Realistically, I think for something like this to happen, look, Andy Reid's got a long track record
as
a coach, and his tree is amazing. So it would be, and while they're focusing on this back-to-back Super Bowls, my hope is that somebody like Andy Reid steps up to the mic and says, "What the hell? Somebody come interview this guy.
Why is this guy?
Is my guy." Because that's where it's gonna take someone of that stature to do that, which sucks.
You're dead on, Casey.
But I think Andy Reid, and my hope is again that he's not being passed over and that he's just saying, "I'm good. I like where I am. I like what I'm doing." But that's probably not the case. So therefore, I think people like Andy Reid need to step in and say, "This is the guy. Boom, let's go."
I want to back you on that. And it's funny that you said that because my quote later kind of goes towards what you're talking about, and it's directed towards change. And a lot of change only is going to happen when others speak up and speak out for those who are certainly deserving of being spoken up for. And I'd love to see Andy do that and step up.
Let's go.
Krissy, give me some sound here, and let's play what this guy is talking about.
Next thing that's very important to me is that we build a smart football team. That we have a smart
It's not coming through the right thing.
And I know we have the
I can hear it.
place to do that. The first part of being smart is knowing what to do. We're gonna have systems in place that are easier to learn. All right, complicated to the defense or offense that they're going against or the special teams group they're going against, but easy for us to learn. Because when we can when we can learn our system and we can get good at our system, then our talent can take over. Less thinking equals talent take over, but we need to have systems in place, and we will have systems in place to do so. Next thing that's very important to me is that we build...
Huh? That's the best that they could come up with.
Hey, fly, Eagles, fly. You can have that, dude.
You know what? NFC East...
Sorry, all my boys up in Philly.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, we're gonna have systems in place where our talent can shine, and our playbook's gonna be so. What did you just say? And I'm paying you how much per year, and you're in charge of $100 million roster or what have you in the NFL? That's the best the Eagles could do. I guess Eric Bieniemy's not deserving in their eyes because he didn't interview better than that guy. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your one headline.
Gene the Barber, located in downtown Silver Spring. Gene the Barber has been in the business of making you look good for more than 20 years. Kids cuts, adult cuts, men and women. Gene has the experience and style you're looking for. Contact Gene the Barber for an appointment by calling him direct, 240-687-7253. Our producer uses Gene the Barber, and he's available for your next barbershop visit as well. Call 240-687-7253 and tell him Turner and O'Neill sent you.
Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By advertising with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. In Season 1, we reached a total of more than 100,000 listeners, viewers, subscribers, and website visitors combined. Your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Advertising with Turner and O'Neill equals exposure on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and more than 15 listening platforms total. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand. The Starting Five is brought to you by Insurance Alliance Group. Manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Request a free claim review with the property loss professionals. Insurance Alliance Group. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
The Starting Five.
Next thing that's very important to me is that we build a smart football team, that we have a smart football team here. And I know we have the people in place to do that. The first part of that, the first part of being smart is knowing what to do. We're gonna have systems in place that are easier to learn. All right, complicated to the defense or offense that they're going against or the special teams group they're going against, but easy for us to learn. Because when we can when we can learn our system and we can get good at our system.
I mean, that's enough. I mean, if I was the media, wouldn't you just eat him up?
That sounded like me when I get dinged after 15 seconds.
So he's not
ding,
ready for a
ding.
Starting Five, is what you're saying.
That dude, no. There it is.
You should have dinged him. Yes, Krissy, you get to ding him. All right, welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I'm your host, Kurtis Cross, and I'm with Coach Steve Turner, Coach Casey O'Neill, and of course our engineer is DJ Krissy. We are up to our weekly Starting Five. 5 questions asked of each coach. They've never heard these questions, and they each have 30 seconds to answer each question. If they go over their 30 seconds, DJ Krissy, what will happen? You're going to get the Philadelphia Eagles treatment. That's what's going to happen. Or the Conor McGregor treatment is what you're going to get. Gentlemen, let's do it. I think we took it easy on you guys this week. Coach O'Neill, I'm going to start with you. At the county fair, what is your game of choice? What do you know you can win? What are you great at?
Well,
darts and the balloons, or
anything that has to do with shooting a basketball. If they haven't, they don't usually have those at the county fair, do they?
Yeah, they got the tall
Sure.
basketball net,
any
right?
of those, I'm getting it.
Your
I'm
money.
getting it. And if they have the rapid fire one, which is normally an arcade,
Right.
unstoppable. I don't think there's anybody
Anybody
in the
toast.
state that can take me down.
Oh, big words from Coach O'Neil. Coach Turner.
Ain't that some shit?
Try me.
Well, county fairs, they usually don't have the basketball hoops.
They don't.
Okay.
But that's usually, Kings Dominion at the
Six Flags or
Six
something.
I'm winning.
So I would say, but if that was there, I've never gone anywhere with them having one of those.
Right.
That I didn't take something home. But darts. I throw a mean dart.
With the water balloons?
Yes.
This guy can do a trick shot. Now, anything deep, half court, behind his back, or underneath, I've seen him make
He's the guy.
ridiculous shots. I can't do that stuff, but you get me in one of those rapid fires, I can.
Just get in your zone.
It's quick.
All right. Coach Turner, you get to choose one restaurant, just one, where you can eat for the rest of your life. You can still eat at home, but when you eat out, you get just one restaurant. Which one do you choose?
Capitol Grill.
Oh, yeah. That's a shout out to our man, Joey T.
Joey T.
That's where he works, Capitol Grill.
Capitol Grill.
All right, Coach O'Neil. You don't have to eat there every day, but whenever you go out, it's going to be that one restaurant.
Go ahead. You were going to say something?
I was just saying, just a close second would be Woodmont Grill.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about that.
And just because both of them have an opportunity to get some seafood, doesn't always have to be
All right.
the big steak.
I'm going Pines of Rome.
I've never been there. Tell me about that one.
Pines of Rome is in Bethesda. It's an old school restaurant. They just moved locations, but from their white pizza to their regular pizza to their pasta to their shrimp to their veal, I mean, you name it, it is on
It's on
fire.
point.
Everything's on point. Even just the basic salad that they bring out, with just it's all chopped up and that dressing and the wine, just one kind of red, one kind of white. I mean, it's just basic.
They're
Everything.
keeping it simple, but they're doing it right.
It's good. It's good.
All right. Famous childhood crush. I'm going to tell you now, mine was Jane Kennedy. All day, every day. Jane Kennedy. Your famous childhood crush.
Oh, man. Probably a few episodes I mentioned Three's Company. I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Right.
Whoever played Krissy. She's still around today. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne Summers. As a little guy, yeah, that was.
She was the one.
Yep.
Coach Turner.
Holly Berry.
Holly Berry.
Childhood?
Your childhood is high school. Are we going back to grade school? You didn't.
Leah looks a lot like Holly Berry. You know that?
I do know that.
Wow.
You crush on Leah, don't you?
I crush on Erica.
Damn right, I crushed on my wife.
All right, so Halle Berry it is. Coach Turner, what 80s or 90s TV show character would you want to play? Or you can even say what show would you want to be in?
No, I go back to who I'd like to play.
All right.
And give me Martin all damn
Martin,
day.
all right. Martin! The funniest 30 minutes I've ever seen in any sitcom was, I think...
Actually, I'm going to change that.
Go ahead.
Fred G. Sanford.
Period. Sanford, period.
Period. Fred Sanford.
Funniest 30 minutes I ever saw was a Halloween episode of Martin, and I wasn't a big Martin fan. Funniest thing I've ever seen over 30 minutes. Coach O'Neil, who are you going to play in the 80s or 90s sitcom?
Crockett and Tubbs, baby. Miami Vice.
Do you know how old Crockett is? He's on a new show now with Keenan on SNL, from SNL. He's like, not that you have to be that age.
Probably looks like he's 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Like a Rob Lowe type.
He's like
is that guy even
72
age?
or something.
Right.
And he looks like he's probably 50.
Miami
Yeah.
Vice would be pretty baller.
gonna do that?
That or Magnum PI.
Magnum PI.
But you know what we've started watching? Not the original, is the Hawaii Five-0, the newer one, I guess,
Right,
in the
right.
mid-2000s. Or in just been.
You just want to
binging.
wear a linen turquoise
Let's go.
sport coat, don't you?
Let's go.
You drive a Lamborghini or something.
Now I got to put on that SPF 80 right down there in Miami.
It's hot in Miami.
But there you go.
All right. Be a part of creating history 5 different times or the ability to delete 5 things from history.
The first, being able to
Create history.
yes, yeah, because I don't know. I just think it'd be something fun to go and change and work on and build and be a part of that. Going back, and changing things. I don't know if that makes us better because I feel like the mistakes we've made makes us better.
Okay. All right. Coach Turner, you want to change 5 things in history past or you want to create 5 historical things, moving forward?
It's a tough one.
Outside of your realm, you've done some historical things with the titles you guys have won, and you've raised some great kids and all of that. But like Encyclopedia Britannica historical things.
I mean, I'm like Casey in a lot of ways with that. Is that I think our past creates kind of who we are and where we are right now. I'd like to see so much change happen in our world. I definitely like to create. I think I could do more by creating 5 historical things.
Okay. All right. Krissy, there were no dings today. I think you're feeling good about the snow, and that is your starting 5. The starting 5. A Squared Home and Office Solutions is the go-to source for home or office network and audiovisual solutions. We can help with smart home integration, wireless networking, media rooms, security systems, and more. We will link technology to your style seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness. Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock, 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Winsight Media. Winsight delivers connections and intelligence to 4 of the fastest growing verticals: convenience retailing, grocery businesses, restaurants, and non-commercial food service through broad and cutting-edge platforms. No company is better positioned to meet the food industry's needs than Winsight. Connect with us at www.winsightmedia.com.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is a fellow Montgomery Blair High School alum who is Washington, D.C.'s most tenured sportscaster. Chick Hernandez is an on-air personality that many of you will know from his days at Fox 5 D.C., from planting his roots here in D.C. area to his PGA Tour radio work on Sirius XM. He has also anchored sports coverage on NBC Sports Washington and Fox Sports Net. Chick is an Emmy Award-winning lead anchor, host, and reporter. Here to take a TO with us today, please welcome fellow Blair Blazer, Mr. Chick Hernandez.
Yeah, give me a B. Give me an L.
There you go. All right. Chick, thanks for joining us today. I have not met you in person, but along with Mr. Coach Steve Turner, I am Kurt Cross. I am a Blair Blazer alum. How's it going today, sir?
Well, all I can say is that I laid the groundwork for you two gentlemen at Montgomery Blair High School, for sure. I set the footprints, very small footprints, by the way.
Wait a minute. How do you know you're older than us? How do you know you're older than me?
Everybody's older than me. I mean, everybody's younger than me.
Okay. Well, you'd be correct in this instance. Gentlemen, please greet Mr. Hernandez.
Chick, Steve here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and thank you for coming on with us today.
No, my pleasure, Coach. I'm a big fan of yours, as you well know, and we got some mutual friends who are going to get a kick out of this. But when you're at the top of your game, which you are, it's cool to talk to somebody who's been there, done that.
Thank you.
Chick, this is Casey O'Neill. So I'm one of Steve's colleagues. I coach a different sport, but I work with all the sports. I'm going to make a firm statement here in that I am not a Blair Blazer. And we've had a few of those guests on air before, and they just kind of pushed me to the corner of the table in this podcast studio. So I'm here to talk some DC sports. I'm a huge fan of yours, and just appreciate you taking this time this afternoon. So thank you.
Where'd you go to high school?
I actually am a Gonzaga alum. So I worked there and went there and graduated in the mid-'90s and been coaching lacrosse and been the assistant AD at Gonzaga for about 20 years now. So I've worked with Coach Turner a long time.
Very cool. Well, that's fair then. At least you can't. You're a local kid. No, listen, we can't all go to Blair High School with the melting pot of DMV. I mean, come on. I mean, we had 99 different nationalities at Blair, and if you didn't come out of there thinking or knowing how to adjust to the world, then you just weren't paying attention. Whereas, let's be honest here, there's some schools in our country, it just ain't. That's not the case. The first time they see a black person's in college, or whatever. So it's for me a tremendous array of faces and colors. And for a jock, which I also hung out with the theater guys. So while there was some cliques, we certainly went over the boundaries into the different groups, and that was very cool and helpful later in life.
No doubt.
Well, I'm now raising my family across the street of Montgomery Blair High School.
The new Blair.
The new Montgomery Blair, right? But just right around the corner.
That's not the original.
Okay.
There you go. It's not Wayne Avenue. Chick, it is an honor to have you today. I remember seeing you in the early days, your early days on Fox 5. I was shortly out of high school, and you'll remember that at that time, we hadn't seen many minority sportscasters in the D.C. area. You were someone that I certainly looked up to, so thank you for being that person. And many of us in the D.C. area watched you emerge as that guy. In a D.C. market where George Michael, Steve Buckhands, Glenn Brenner, and Frank Herzog were the faces we saw, what did it take for you to effectively break through and become someone that we would ultimately see as the face of D.C. area sports?
Well, it's interesting in that you're correct. I mean, my given name is Carlos Hernandez. That's how I was referred to in school. And when I decided to go into the business, I didn't see a lot of ethnic names. So I changed my name and went with, it's too long a story, but it ended up being Chick Hernandez, and it has stuck well with me. But to be quite honest, just very fortunate. It was the mere phone call from a friend that I grew up with in junior high who listened to the Don and Mike show on radio and heard Rudy Martzke, who used to be the big journalist for USA Today, the big NFL guy. And on Friday nights, the end of their show, he would say, give one tidbit. And they asked him what the tidbit was this week, and he said, Gus Johnson's leaving Fox 5. And my friend called me and said, hey, dude, you can get that job, but I'm in Augusta, Georgia at Market 112. And I'm like, you're nuts. This is not even, you don't make that jump from Market 112 to 7. And I hung up on him. And about half an hour later, I said, well, let me just send a tape anyway. And to his credit, Buckhants looked at the tape, and they brought in 2 or 3 of us for an interview. And what he saw on the tape from Augusta was a guy who was willing to take some chances, and that was all born out of being an intern for Glenn Brenner and James Brown and Ken Beast and General Dodson.
Wow.
Just, one tape I sent, and that turned into that job. And I was there for 6 years, and so I appreciate the fact that you looked to me as a person of color who was getting it done. I will tell you that I never thought about it that way. I just thought about, I know that for the most part, the male is going to watch my sportscast. And in a long talk with Glenn Brenner many, many, many moons ago, the late great Glenn Brenner, he said that a lot of the girlfriends and wives would watch him too. And that was my goal always, was to make it entertaining enough that, hey, honey, let's check out what Chick's going to do tonight. And that was my goal. So I never thought about it who I was, I thought about who I was going to entertain.
Wow.
Love it.
Well, thank you again for being that guy. You really were. And,
Absolutely.
I was a young black kid who, was just, I loved watching George Michael, but then here comes this guy,
Sure.
Chick Hernandez. And I'm like, well, he looks like me, so maybe I can watch him too. And I've been watching Fox 5 for a long time now. Coach O'Neill.
Yeah, Chick, Coach O'Neill here again. So when I was a young kid growing up, I quickly kind of learned that I wasn't going to go play for the Boston Celtics or the Washington Bullets.
Me too.
I wanted to be an NBA basketball player, but quickly turned my attention. People asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I saw gentlemen like you and George Michael and Steve Buckhands and said, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about sports. I want to do those things. Now, clearly, I'm in the sports industry as a coach and as an AD. But my question is to the kids listening, because sportscasting with social media is something that a lot of young people, especially in our area, and some amazing sportscasters and news personalities come out of the D.C. area. They're all over the place. But what is your advice to that 15-year-old young lady or young man? Just the one thing you could give them to say, do this and stick to it.
Get an internship. That's what I would tell anybody who is to any really form any business. When I went to Channel 9, it was 1986. Boy, I'm dating myself here. And Glenn Brenner, James Brown were the main anchors. He was, Glenn was the sports director and JB was the weekend anchor. And so during my internship, I knew. Here's what I learned. I learned, one, that I wanted to do this. Having seen it firsthand, what it took, I knew that I wanted to do it. Then I learned I can do this. I can do what it takes to get this done. Those are the two important things for me. So I think at any internship, you find out whether you want to do it and whether you can do it. And that again, falls on any business, any job that you're looking for. And then it was on me to pay attention and to learn the craft, which, is why I actually went to Augusta, a nice small market to cut my teeth and learn the boundaries of, and I got manager's office many times for stuff that I did on the air that was, hey, you can't do that. Like first week in Augusta, Georgia, I said God. And I got called up to the general manager's office. Hey, listen, this is the Bible Belt. You can't say God on the air. I said, okay, my bad. I didn't know. Fine. I came back a few days later and I said, gosh. And I got called again. And he said, you know what? Gosh is too close to God.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So, you learn what you could and couldn't get away with. And so, like I said, internship for me, and I would tell anybody trying to get into business, will tell you a bunch of different things. And the business has changed so much since, for me to get a job, I had to find an editor to put something down on an 8-track, or not an 8-track, but a VHS tape, physically go to the post office, send it. Now it's a link that anybody can get in a heartbeat, right? Which is great. It's great for them, but so they get to these prospective employers, much quicker than I would. But having said all that, they also, from what I'm finding from young folk, is that they think that how do I put this? Their stuff doesn't stink.
Yep.
And
This is a podcast. You can say the real thing. It's okay.
Okay. Well, their shit don't stink.
Right.
And they think that they're entitled. Their sense of entitlement to me is quite stunning. Not obviously for 100% of the young folks, but a lot of folks that I've come across in my business, in the places I've worked that are coming up, and they think they can sit next to me on an anchor desk. And I'm like, you've done nothing. What are you talking about? You think you can do this? And, and oftentimes I'll put them on the spot. Let's go. Let's go sit on the desk and we'll run through a show. And the deer in headlights look that comes is one of my favorite looks.
Right.
And I don't do it to cut them down, because then I have a conversation afterwards that says the following: I busted my tail to do this. I've checked every box. I have practiced everything so that I know where the pitfalls are, and I know what works, what doesn't work. You don't have that life experience yet, so don't come into my place of business and think you can do that.
Wow.
Chick, Steve here. I got a two-part question for you, and kind of in the same realm. The first is, who was that interview? You've done hundreds of them. Who was that interview that put you, like, you were in awe of that person prior to interviewing them, probably even still after interviewing them? And then the second one, what was the interview that told you, I made it, I belong in this industry?
Good question. Look at that coach. That's a good question. That put me in awe. It's a really tough one. I would say it's probably the only interview I was ever nervous for, and that was in Augusta, my first time with Jack Nicklaus. Just because, you know, of what he meant to the game and what he meant to even to the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. And I called the guy I replaced and said, "Hey, give me a clue on how do you interview Jack? Because it just can't be that he's not that easy. It can't be that easy." And he said, "You're right. If you ask a question that is so open-ended, he will basically with his eyes chew you up and spit you out."
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, great, thanks for that. And, you know, and literally it was, you know, this is now later in his life. So this is 92. So this is 6 years after he's won his last major. He is at this point 52 years old, but still a big name in the game. And I did my research and found out that he was working out really for the first time in his life. You know, hitting the weights. He didn't have to when he was young. Mm. And so he came off 18 in the practice round. It was raining. We were walking. I said, "Mr. Nicklaus, my name is Chick Hernandez. I replaced Sam Crenshaw." "Oh, where's Sam at?" "Sam's now in Carolina." He goes, "Okay." And I said, "You mind if we talk?" "Sure. What do you need? What do you want?" And I said, "You've been working out for the first time in your career. So how has that changed the way the game is played for you?" And his eyes were up. I'm 52 years old. I got distance back. I never thought I'd get back, blah, blah, blah. We did 8 solid minutes. And to listen to him, and to listen to him the years following, because it's a forced relationship, he's the one that made me like, holy crap, you know, and I got it done. The interview, ironically, that I felt like where I made it, or, you know, was doing the right thing, was another golfer, and it was Tiger Woods. Mm. You know, when he came in to bring his tournament to D.C., they gave each of us 5 minutes, us locals, 5 minutes with Tiger Woods, you know, in separate rooms. And because I covered golf, I wasn't nervous about it. I just, you know, he's Tiger. Okay, fine. Obviously, he's huge at this point, but okay, he's a golfer to me. Whereas my counterparts were biting their nails and pacing, and I'm like, what is going on here? And he finally came in. I think I was the second to last interview. He came in, and when he walked in, I had not seen him until that point. We were both wearing the same outfit, basically. Gray suit, purple shirt, purple tie. So when he sat down, he made no eye contact, because that's what Tiger 1.0 was. Very, very guarded. And I said, "Nice ensemble." And he said, "Thanks." And I just stared at him until he looked up. And he finally looked up after about 10 seconds. And he says, oh, I get it now. And I say, "Man, you're quick." At which point, right? At which point, all his people were like, I could hear them saying, "Wait, do they know each other?" But as soon as I said it to him, he realized he had a smart ass sitting next to him. And he was like, "Oh," and like all of a sudden I saw his back straighten up. But I had already engaged him right then and there. Mm. And my first question was so non-golf. It was, you were about to be a father. You're playing golf. It's Sunday. You got your black pants, your red shirt. You're holding your baby before the round, before you leave. Baby pukes on your shirt. Do you have 2 red shirts, or do you smell like baby puke on Sunday? Oh. Right? And that's the reaction I got. He laughed, and he said, "I'm going to smell like puke all day on Sunday because I only carry 1 red shirt." Oh, and in that moment, what I got out of Tiger Woods was a personal moment from him. 2, that Tiger doesn't carry more than 1 red shirt. And 3, he was now locked in. because he thought, oh, this is not just one of those interviews. This is going to be a little bit different. And that's the way I've done it ever since with him. And it just kind of, that it's like, coach is like one of the big road games. So like you talk to your guys, you run through all the drills, you did the practices, you scouted them, and then they went out and they executed almost to what you really wanted, as near perfect as they could. And you're on that bus ride back, and you're like, man, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And this is what it's all about. That's what that was. And that's the moment for me.
Thanks, Chick. That was awesome.
Chick, here's a question.
Absolutely.
First of all, I'm sitting here, just so you know, in our studio. I'm like, we're doing a podcast with Chick Hernandez. That's really cool to me. Anyway, when did it feel like you belonged? Was there a moment in that studio? So I hear that you've come, full circle when you got to Tiger. And Jack Nicklaus was a huge interview. And so, but in this studio, when did it feel like home? Did it take 50 episodes? Did it take 100, times that you were behind that desk? When did it feel like, okay, I made the right choice coming to DC, and I feel like, or coming back to DC, and this is where, this is what it's all about. I'm home, I'm in front of a camera, and we're starting to gain some energy behind who Chick Hernandez can be. Because to me, you always seem to be Chick. I don't feel like you tried to be Glenn Brenner. You tried to be Herzog. You tried to be, James Brown or anyone else. You tried to be Chick. So what did that feel like, and how did that come to be?
Well, first off, if you're excited to talk to me, you need to get out more. Second, I will say this. It was long before I got to DC that I felt comfortable. The long story short is I was at a network called the Ms. Lou Sports News Network, which ironically I'm going to be doing the Zoom call later on tonight with about 60 of those people from that network. It was a short-lived network, and I was a production assistant, but the executives heard me talking with the Wally Bruckners, who was at that station too. Wally was George Michael's backup.
Yes, he
Wally
was.
was there, Kerry Ross from ESPN, a bunch of different folks are there, and I would hang out with them and talk their language. So they decided, hey, let's put the kid, on the air. And the kid that was in the newsroom talking and being a smart aleck was not the same guy that hit the camera. I was so petrified and nervous to make a mistake that I just did the nuts and bolts and made sure I got from point A to point B. When I left to go to Augusta after Ms. Lou went bankrupt, when I got to Augusta, my audition was with the news team. It wasn't even an audition. I didn't know it was an audition. They just brought me down for a talk, and at 10:30 in the morning, I'm with the news anchors. And when's the last time you saw news anchors? This is prior to all these morning shows. News anchors and the weather person, at a TV station at 10:30 in the morning. They're never there. I wasn't aware of that. They had me write a 3-minute sportscast. And for some reason, I just thought, this is Augusta, Georgia, man. Deep South, Market 112. I'm going to let it rip. Who cares? And I wrote a 3-minute sportscast and went down on the set and sat with them. And by the time we were done with the 3 minutes, the weather guy, Bob Smith, was off the set. He had run to the other set. He was laughing so hard. And the two news anchors couldn't contain themselves. And I literally, the director took a 3-shot, and I said, forget the 3-shot, find the weather around the studio. Well, that was it. That was me from the word go. And since that day, I have been that guy. I'll tell you that when I was interning with Glenn Brenner, we had a coming to Jesus moment. It's not really the right term, but when Len Bias died, I was there covering or helping the news department cover the grand jury trial, and Glenn didn't know this, and I was gone for several weeks. When I got back the day that the grand jury came out, Glenn basically ripped me, almost took my head off, and said, "Where in the F have you been?" And at that point, the news reporter, Dave Statter, came running down the hall going, whoa, hold on a second. He's been with us for the last 2 months. He's the leak, because I knew all the players, all the people. And so Glenn brought me in the office and said, "You were my best intern. and I didn't know where you were. And so, these last few weeks that you're with me, we need to have some fun. And we had a very similar style of sense of humor. And again, he went back to his philosophy. And I have tried to do that ever since. Obviously, if the situation, dictates it. If you're doing, Sean Taylor's passed away, then there's no humor. But on any given day, when you're just watching guys do highlights and whatever, make it interesting, make it funny, make your lead in something that is memorable. And so I've always felt comfortable in the anchor chair, always. I can't think of a time when I haven't. It's when I do new stuff that I get nervous. Doing play-by-play the first time got me a little bit nervous. But after that, no, you have to have a sense of, you're the dude. And I do that even to my detriment, even though with social media, I crush people sometimes. I know I'm an idiot. I've done it. I've copped to it. I've tried to be better about it, but, I still think I'm the dude.
All right.
Chick, Coach O'Neill here. I want to talk a little DC sports. Actually, but first, I've noticed, following you on Instagram, you'll play golf in any weather. This is correct, at least from the video I saw.
Yeah, I'm not that bright. So let's be honest. It was a charity event.
Right.
Usually I cut off about 40 degrees. The other day was a plus 12 windshield. That was stupid.
It looked.
But I'm done having kids, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Right. It looked a little chilly. I'm just setting up a future round here with Coach Turner and myself. Kurtis not a big golfer, but we're definitely going to get out and play some golf. Love to do that. But talking DC,
absolutely.
Talking some DC sports. One of the things, somebody grew up here. We all did. What drives me nuts is to the outside, right? People don't think DC is a sports town, and you look at championships and you look at coaches and all the wonderful people that have come through. I want to get to the bottom of. So you've covered the Terps. You're you are a Maryland Terp, the Hoyas, the Redskins. Yep. Washington football, the Nats, Caps, Wiz, DC United, all those things. What sport and I'm going to say outside of golf, what is the most fun for you to cover? Is it following a team throughout the season? Is it, interviewing those guys? I mean, out of all those teams here in DC, what kind of gets you fired up the most? And what do you like to cover out of all those different sports?
College hoops, for me. Only because when I came back to town, this was the beginning of the Gary Williams era at Maryland, my alma mater. And
Coach Turner is shaking his
guy,
head right now. He's very happy with that answer, but go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I covered all the teams at Fox 5, and when somebody made the dance, then we tried to figure out who was going to go where. I generally went with Maryland. So, you cover a team all season long in which the sports information departments are kind of tight. Some coaches, by the way, get a little tight too, and they don't want their guys talking and, talking too much and, very guarded. So the beauty of March Madness is that the NCAA takes over all of that. They give you 45 minutes in the locker room. It's guaranteed. They give you time to watch the walkthrough, blah, blah, blah. And so that stretch of time, and again, remind you that Maryland was always going at least 2-3 rounds in, if not the national championship in 2002. That you were finished with the regular season. I'd go to the ACC tournament, normally in Greensboro, cover that, then go to the dance. Sunday night, you find out where you're going, normally out west, and then boom, you set your flights, and you're there, and it's just so regimented, and you have time to do other stuff. That's the best for me. I love covering football. I played it in high school and junior college. But, the Washington franchise has just been, for 20 years an abomination other than 2012. So, it's insane. It's just, mind blowing what this franchise has done, so college basketball.
Well, you got Coach Turner bobbing his head in big old smile on that answer.
Great answer, Chick. Great answer. I'm gonna take you to a conversation we just had the other day when I reached out to you about coming on, and I think it's perfect timing. Today, February 1, Black History Month, You told me the other day of a story about a special guest that came to Blair and how you had an opportunity to meet somebody who I think certainly his name stands strong and a lot of times gets to be brought up during Black History Month because of who he is in his industry.
Yeah, Steve Lookinland is his real name, but he goes by Stevie Wonder. And so 1981, he's trying to get Dr. King's birthday to be a national holiday. I also used to do an imitation of Stevie with one of my fellow students who played the piano, and I would do the impression. I grew up on songs in the key of life before album set that I would come home and play every day and read the music and the lyrics and learn it all. So it's February, it's an assembly. In high school you get an assembly, it's a half day. A lot of kids are just bolting, man. They're out, they're gone. And my speech teacher, Mrs. Mazes, looked at me as we were getting ready to leave the class, and she said, "Now, I'm going to tell you something here that's going to seem odd to you." So you remember I told you I had the name Carlos. I never liked the name Carlos. So at the beginning of each school year, in Blair you had 6 or 7 classes, I think. Each class on day one, they would go in and do attendance. And they would say, Carlos Hernandez, and I would say, yeah, I'm here. And I'd give each teacher a different name for the year. So Mrs. Mays' class, I was known as Moses. Don't laugh. So she said, Moses, I think you really need to the assembly today. And she gave me this look that basically told me, you better go down there. Don't screw this up. And so I rushed to my locker. And by the time I got to my locker, word was that Stevie Wonder was in the school. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I got down to the second row, middle section, sat down, waited, and then here he came. Performed for 2 hours. He talked to us about what he was trying to do. He talked to us about the movement, all of it. And again, Blair being that very multicultural school, it was just an experience I'll never forget. And years later, I was doing concert security at the Capitol Center. It was his concert. And I had the opportunity, I volunteered to pick him up after the concert down in the visiting team's hockey locker room. He was going to come up and meet some disadvantaged kids. And I led him up, and on the way up, I reminded him that I'd already met him. Of course, he's like, well, who the hell are you? And I told him, I said, you came to my high school. And as God is my witness, he said, Montgomery Blair High School? And I was like, oh, come on, man. What? You remembered. And so, yeah, just, that's how we're shaped by things. He was my favorite, has been my favorite of all time, and I think he's made an impact on our world through his music and his words. And the fact that he came to Montgomery Blair High School to spend an afternoon with some kids is just unbelievable.
Songs in the key of life. Wow. So besides the Blair thing, we have a couple things in common, Chick. Your hats, my cowboy hats. We also like a good cigar. My choice is the Monte Cristo No. 2. What is your cigar of choice, sir?
Well, I go, so look, the reason I look so young at my age is because I got that Cuban skin. So I'm a big Cuban cigar smoker. Pejicas are my number one go-to. Monte Cristo is right behind it. But, I have literally smoked since the age of 12. It was bad cigars back in the day. Horrible.
Right.
Swisher Sweets.
7-Eleven specials. It looked like they were purple. Yeah, the awful. Yeah, Rita Vega purple cigar is awful. I have come to a stage in my life where I can, afford and have some contacts to get the Cuban cigars. So that's what I smoke religiously.
All right.
Chick, not necessarily a question, but a statement from me, sort of a thank you for the years of service that you've put forward and sort of.
Am I dead?
No. It's a good one-liner, though. No, but in all honesty, just your honesty, your humility, telling these stories, wit, strength, professionalism, just the fun that you bring, not only to this podcast tonight, but for the years you've done it here in the DC airwaves and supporting the teams. It's more or less a thank you in that whether you know it or not, have inspired so many young people and so many DC sports fans the right way and not the dishonest way, but the honest way. So I just wanted to get that out. I was thinking about how I was going to say that today because I was going to interview Chick Hernandez. So that's my statement, and I'm sticking to it. You're not dead yet because we got to play golf before that happens.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was raised by a single white mother from Annapolis, Maryland, who taught me about racism at an early age. And when I came back to D.C. And worked in front of her, she grounded me, on a nightly basis. So that I couldn't get a big head. Because, in Augusta, I was big fish in small pond by the time I left. I could not go to dinner without, 10 families walking up and wanting to talk to me about sports and whatever. Coming back here, I was small fish in big pond. And, but I always thought about, I'm on TV and I had a great night. I had some one-liners, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom would call and say, what is that shirt and tie combination? What was that? Great. Thanks, Mom. Is that all you saw? Can you get off the weed, Mom? Stop it. I appreciate it, man. I often don't think about the impact that I have, good or bad, until recently. And so I've taken more stock in that. I'm trying to impart that to my 3 knucklehead children.
Good. Well, you should. And thank you. Coach Turner?
Chick.
Thank you.
I've asked this question to a few other people who've been on our podcast, and it's always interesting for me to hear from people in their industry and what they do. What is your why?
I feel like I'm talking to Robert Griffin III here. My why. Why do I do what I do? Well, honestly, for selfish reasons, you want to be liked. You want to entertain. And that, I think, I was a class clown from grades 1 through 12. So I look at things. I have a desperate need to edit myself at all times when I'm in a conversation. Mm-hmm. And so part of my why is that I'm playing with my own psyche when I do what I do. I want to entertain, and there's so many things that are going on in my head, so many things that I want to say. Look, let's be honest. I also do stand-up comedy, and I work blue. My language is not good outside of TV. And one of the things that makes me laugh is that people will go, how in the world can you do TV, radio, whatever, and not curse? And it's one of those things, I could be screwed by an audio guy if he just left the mic on. I'd be dead. I'd be off the air in a heartbeat. But I have a trust in people. And I also have a little beat that I take to make sure that everything's off. But there's a part of my why is to trick. It's funny to trick the folks into. It sounds horrible the way I just said that. I'm trying to have as much fun. That's really it. The why. I'm trying to have as much fun as I can on this earth. I lost my mom unexpectedly. 10 years ago when she should have been here for a lot longer. And from that day forward, a lot of people worry about what they're doing day to day. I just don't think that way. I think I'm going to have as much fun as I can while I can. And I'm having a tough time convincing my wife of that right now because of the pandemic. And I get it, and I'm a believer in all of it. Before the pandemic, we were going to go travel, and I wanted to show her places and get drunk. Let's go, let's go to some secluded island and sunbathe. Like, nobody wants to see me naked, but still, let's go try it. Let's go do this stuff. I want to jump out of a plane. I want all that stuff. So yeah, that's my why, man. I got so much bottled inside, and I want to let it out. And if I sit like I have been during this pandemic, sitting in your house, just My wife knows. That's why I play more golf, O'Neill. That's why I play as much golf as I do, because my wife knows if I didn't play golf, I would commit Harry Carey in the house. But get out and be outside. I got to do something, I'm biking in the snow. Like, let's go. Do something. I can't sit still.
Love it.
I love it. Thanks, Chick.
Chick, final question. We have something on the podcast called The Starting Five. During this segment, I ask the coaches 5 questions they've never heard or seen before they get 30 seconds to answer. I'm only going to ask you one. So here goes, Chick. Which of the 3 Super Bowls would you say from the Redskins is the sweetest? Now, I don't have to remind you, but for our listeners who
Doug Williams.
Oh,
Doug
okay.
Williams.
Okay.
Doug Williams.
Can I read the question, please, Mr. Hernandez?
No.
I was
There's really no.
He's a big brother on the show.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Just stop right there. What? Look,
all right. You've got our engineer dying over here.
well, just saying. I can hear it. Is that a human or is that a goat? I can't tell.
Krissy, you haven't met Chick Hernandez yet. Can you at least say hello to Mr. Chick?
She's laughing.
She's doubled
doubled over right now.
I know what Chick's talking about because he remembers. You remember that gruesome, what looked gruesome when Doug went down and he goes out of the game. Jay Schrader trots in.
Is this your question or is this Chick Hernandez's question?
Chick, you know what? It's none of this Blair Blazer stuff. I'm talking to Chick about 1987. I'm with you. Doug Williams coming back on that field, 5 touchdowns, second quarter, 42-10, and a young running back.
The guy threw 4 touchdowns in the quarter, threw for 340 yards, 220 or 230 in that quarter.
Yep.
I mean, and again, it goes back to what Doug went through. I mean, Jay Schrader, not the nicest teammate.
No.
With some racist tendencies.
Yep.
And for Doug to basically say to Jay, nah, dude.
This is mine. Dude.
I love it.
I
love it.
You know, he won it, and then had surgery 2 days later on the knee because he torn his ACL. The guy playing with a torn ACL.
What?
Yeah. All right.
So it wasn't Miami or the Bills we beat. It was 42-10.
42-10, baby.
It was Doug.
That is correct.
All right. Well, I have never in 30-plus episodes not gotten to ask a question, but he knew where I was going, and he had the answer. Mr. Hernandez, look, we want to thank you for taking the TO with us today. Please tell our listeners how they can connect with you via social media, assuming you want them to connect with you.
Well, I'm an Uber driver, so just, look for me. Mr. Chick Sports. Just look for @Mr. Chick Sports on Twitter, and Instagram is Chick Hernandez, one word. But you can find me. I'm all over the place, and I'm very honest on there. I do a lot of live stuff. We talked about me being a jackass to my former employers, all of it. I've come clean on being stupid and everything else, and I think it's a window into us. And so feel free to follow me. If you don't want to follow me, that's fine too. If you go back and look at my past, you'll see some political stuff. Thank God for January 6th. All that stuff. So I appreciate the time, fellas.
Man, thank you.
It's always good to talk to you guys. I hope to get out to a game at some point. We talked about it. I called Chris Jenkins 3. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Remember that?
Villanova.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, not Villanova.
No, you're talking about
that was at Coolidge High School.
Coolidge High School.
The Crime Stopper. Yeah,
Stopper.
you covered
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I called the wrong one. All right.
That was an epic game.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot.
People forget
By the
that
way,
he hit
what
that.
an amazing.
He hit that shot at least 4 times that year in high school, and then had the opportunity to go do it and win a national championship. The same exact shot.
Right. Yeah. In fact, when he hit the one for the national championship, I brought back the tape. It's on my resume. I brought back the tape of, hey, this is not something he hasn't done before. Mm-hmm. And I rolled the tape of me calling the game winner. And I believe a certain coach was running up and down the sidelines and in front of cameras. I'm not going to say anything.
There was a lot of shit talking coming from the Baltimore fans in the stands.
I'm sure.
So I definitely let some things out after he hit that shot.
Uh-oh. So Chick, you've been in the game a long time. I started my business when the summer before I went to Blair. Again, you were that guy to people like me who wanted to be a DJ, which is what I do now, and I produce podcasts. You were that guy. So Thank you. You don't know me. We've probably crossed paths in a gym or in some media realm somewhere. I do work at AU and GW, but you were that guy, and we watched you. So, whoever I've inspired, in part, it's because I was able to see Chick do it. So thank you for who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, the DMV's most tenured sportscaster, and of course, he's a Blair Blazer, Mr. Chick Hernandez.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate you, Chick. Talk to you soon.
Have a great week.
Okay, bud.
That was Mr. Chick Hernandez. That's exactly who that was. Steve, you suggested we bring him to the show. You reached out to him. I think you guys have connected over social media, and of course, there's a Blair Blazers thing. But thank you for bringing him to the show. Krissy, let's have a word from our sponsors. Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs. We stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic, from beginning programs to rec leagues, travel clubs to summer programs. We develop the young and experienced players alike. Next Level Lacrosse has a rich tradition of running the best middle and high school lacrosse leagues in the DMV area. You will find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com or call 240-497-1460.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneil.com and click Submit Your Idea.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerandoneil.com. O'Neill Development is a custom builder in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore. Recognized nationally as a premier builder, O'Neill Development has received awards for historic restoration and urban infill work. Committed to best practices in green building, O'Neill Development also provides support in budgeting, architect selection, and design development during the critical stages of planning. O'Neill Development, building, remodeling, and development since 1975. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
This segment of Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by...
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Current social distancing does not allow for event gatherings in the traditional sense. When it's time to plan your bar bat mitzvah, office party, Sweet 16, or any event, we've got your party solution. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event experts. Our virtual events division has perfected an entertainment experience like none other. We bring the celebration to you. Contact us for virtual trivia, office parties, nightclub nights, or any event. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event solution. Visit www.mapdja.com or call 301-942-4500.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill.
We are back with Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. Thanks for listening and watching us as we enjoy meeting you here each week. Little brother believes that I don't like to golf. Did I ever say that I don't like to golf?
Well, now we have our fourth. Chick
No.
Hernandez.
No. Let's go back to the fact that you assumed.
We're still learning a lot about each other.
Really?
Yes.
We are?
Just related. I mean, we haven't even known each other for a year yet. It feels like.
Then ask next time.
Krissy feels like 20, but.
Then ask next time. All right?
Glad I'm not in this one.
Are you setting me up to say you better ask somebody?
No,
Is that what you
Ask
wanted to do?
somebody.
I'm just saying you didn't ask.
So Steve and I have gone golfing
Right?
many times.
You've never invited me.
But you've never brought it up.
So I'm just supposed to nudge my way in and say, hey, I want to
mean-
go, guys. Can I go?
That's what the middle brother does.
Yeah.
Whatever. Mike Jones has some passes from me to Swan Point.
So can we get
Don't
back
ever
to
compare me.
I didn't compare you. I just
You
said.
did. You threw another person out and you looked right at me.
No, I'm just saying.
Look
Mike,
at you.
I'm
You
just
got-
saying.
You got us fired up now.
Because you never invited me to play golf. That's why.
Because it's in a pandemic. Although I've played a bunch.
Yeah, you have.
You're in now. All
No,
you
no.
gotta do is
I
say something.
go down to Swan Point
See
and I
something,
play down there.
say something.
Well, I didn't see anything I wanted to say anything about. You don't look like much over there.
Oh, damn.
Nice sweatshirt, though.
Thank you.
We just had Chick Hernandez on the show. Steve, seriously, thank you for bringing him to this podcast. Krissy enjoyed it. Krissy, why is your mic is on? All right, Krissy enjoyed it. But I guess one of the things that I hear, Chick did not do it in what we would say, quote unquote, the traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
He did do an internship, but he didn't, sit behind a desk and just, play possum until they, let him have a shot. He came in as Chick. And he came in as he was going to be. And guess what? He wasn't trying to be the next, George Michael or the next James Brown or the next Gus Johnson. He was trying to be Chick. And now people want to be him, and he did it his way. Steve, I'm going to give you the first mic because this is your guest.
Well, two takeaways from me. One was the fun, his why, and it leads into what you just talked about, him doing it his way and enjoying for himself to be able to give to others his way of doing it. And then the other part was the early part of the educational piece. I mean, it's still all about having to study your craft, trying to figure out how to be the best version of you can be, and understanding that, being an understudy will allow you to learn and allow you to be able to create who you are in this industry. And I think that just goes so true in a lot of aspects of life. And sometimes we want everything now, but sometimes you gotta take some baby steps before you can go running.
No, you absolutely do. And, that's one of the pet peeves I have these days is folks are somewhere for 3 months and why haven't I gotten a promotion yet? And you got to earn your stripes, and if you work under a leader like you guys, one thing I've seen with you guys, and we'll bring it up on future episodes as well, is you want your assistant coaches, your understudies to shine. And when it's time, and we talked about, so I guess we'll talk about it later, or with the Enemy, you want Andy Reid to give him that spotlight. And I'm sure Andy will do the right thing when he feels it's time. But, you guys want that for your understudies. And you'll get it. You'll get there because you know what? One day Chick Hernandez is going to call in sick. And one day they're going to put you in front of the mic. Coach O'Neill.
First thing that comes to mind after that interview, which I don't know if it was really an interview, it was more or less just listening to him tell
guys
some
talking and hanging
incredible
around.
story. Yeah, just hanging out. To each his own. I love that phrase. To each his own. And Chick has his own style, and we've got a little window, and hopefully our listeners will get a lot out of that. But I speaking of players and coaching, I talk a lot about the guys not being robots, like beep boop beep bop,
Right,
just follow, do this and do that. And, at some point you have to break free and create your own play, or sometimes you got to break free and do. He does it his own way. And while there's been incredible DC personalities,
For sure.
he created his own. I mean, talk about James Brown, Glenn Brenner, George Michael, Steve. All great. He found a way to work for him, and he does it with so much humor and wit, and I mean there is a confidence to him when he's talking. Plus, he mentioned about that stand-up comedy. Clearly, he's got those one-liners, and he is engaged.
He went at Tiger with baby puke.
Boom. So, but he mentioned all the right things too. That in today's society, again, we see it in coaching all the time. Kids come in 8th grade, 9th grade. I'm all this, I'm all that, and it's like. Well, not here. You're not.
Well, you got
to put it.
I mean, he didn't say it in these words, but
yeah,
you got to be able to eat some humble pie and allow the process to be the process. You don't just get it right from the jump.
Sure. So incredible guest, Steve. Great bringing him in, and the foursome will be set.
Yes, sir.
And
the cigars.
Yes. I think that one thing we've done here is we've tried to bring a variety of guests, but when you think about it, we've had Christy Winter-Scott, we had Scott Abraham, and now Chick Hernandez. And those are those are national names.
Yeah, top.
Yeah, those really are. So thanks to you guys for bringing, those personalities in here. Chick Hernandez, we thank you so much for being a part of this. And let's not forget also, Fox 5 was the little brother of all the networks. Right. But he still forged through that in NBC Sports Washington, Sirius XM Golf. I mean, these are the places where you can hear him. So he or Fox Sports Network as well, not just the local, but the national. And he's done all these things, and he's done what he's wanted to do. And we're not talking about a guy who's at the end of his career.
No.
He's not like 70 years old. He's barely in his 50s, and he has done all of this. So it was awesome to have him here. Someone who I absolutely looked up to. But we're coming right back with our weekly sports wrap-up. DJ Krissy, let's take it to break.
At Peace Players, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities in conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. We bridge divides between people through the game of basketball, and we develop young leaders who help to change perceptions. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org. If you're looking to increase sales and gain exposure, advertising opportunities are available. Contact our producer, Kurtis Cross, today. Email turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com to get started.
Let's get social. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube, search Turner and O'Neill and click subscribe.
This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Healthy Baller is dedicated to developing athletes at any level through customized programs created by their world-class trainers. Healthy Baller creates an unparalleled training experience centered around the athlete and coach relationship. Between their physical therapy team and strength and conditioning staff, they create an all-encompassing process to help injured athletes return to the field. For the young athlete, Healthy Baller is an excellent training and confidence builder. Paula and I personally know this as our children attend Healthy Baller twice each week. With Blair and Molly training our 12 and 10-year-olds, we can personally vouch for their expert training and dedication to each athlete. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com and tell them Kurtis and Paula sent you.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. This week's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Now, our weekly sports wrap-up. But first, we're going to start with a question from a Mr. John Jones. He had written into the podcast in Season 1, and I surely forgot to include his question in a Season 1 episode. So, Mr. Jones, thank you for resubmitting your question. He would like to know, can you two gentlemen discuss the importance of student managers in your programs and how their work, while sometimes unseen, can be beneficial for teams and can provide future opportunities in the world of sports for those managers?
Well, this question's coming from the GOAT of student managers.
All right now.
Mr. John J. Jones.
All right.
I know, because I'm going to let you finish this one up. But I'll answer the question. First of all, the way we treat our student managers they're essentially like an extension of the coaching
You
staff.
said that before, yeah.
Extension of the coaching staff. Good part is, get the gear, win a championship, get the ring. But they are trusted, and I've said this before, it's not about, fill up the water or go do this. I mean, there's so many different things that they're learning from the sideline apps we use in terms of our film and working on the data and with that, or helping with film or doing the videos or helping with the drills and getting involved, having fun competitions. So they're an extension of the coaching staff and the team, and the kids love them. And I just, again, one other thing that's not brought up, these student managers are also learning, because you talk about different fields, they're working with our training staff as well. So they're getting a bird's eye view into sort of that medical field and then injuries. And so there's so many things that they can take from that, because I know our trainers take care of those young men as managers, and the managers take care of us.
So as managers, are they Is it like, so one of your players, if they want to play at the next level, they have to put in the work, hopefully get a scholarship, but they can walk on or whatever. Is that the same for a manager? It leads to them getting to that next level.
It can, but I mean, you can talk.
Well, I was gonna. That's what I was gonna talk to. Is that one? Everything Casey said is so true. They're extension to our staff. They're extension to the family that we've created. We treat them no different than we would treat the players. It's not them carrying somebody's bag or carrying the ball bag or doing the water bottles. I mean, those are certain of their duties that they have to do within a game day or a practice day. But there's so much more that we trust them with.
Right.
I mean, they're in there to hear a lot of things that other people aren't privy to hear. When you're with the team, and we want them to one feel at home with that experience. And what I would say is that I've been blessed with the managers who've worked under me in a lot of cases that they've done the same thing that the players have done. Use the sport as a vehicle to something new.
To that access, exactly.
I look at Double J, John, as I call John. He went on and became a manager at Xavier.
Okay.
It gave him some opportunities that other kids who go to that university don't get.
Is he there now?
He's graduated. He's in the work field. I mean, he's doing his thing.
How old is he?
Say that again.
He's got to be late 20s, right? Mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
I might have called games when he came to town.
And he is the only manager that I've ever allowed to play in a game.
Okay.
So that's a big part of why I'm sure Casey calls him the GOAT. He's the only manager, and I hate to say this, I won't ever do it again. He's the only one. Not because of not wanting someone to have that experience. He was special to me. And to give him that opportunity is because of how he handled the job with me not always having to go to him about stuff.
Okay.
There were things that were done before I asked.
Wow.
He was on it, and he cared about his teammates, and I would call them teammates, not the players, his teammates, because he was a teammate as well. Maybe he wasn't playing in the games, but he's a teammate to who it is to be in our program. But our managers have done some unbelievable things. When I was underneath Coach Myers, Danny O'Brien is currently his associate AD at VCU. Mike Williams, if you do decide not to play golf, that's who I'm inviting to play golf. Mike currently is an assistant coach for the Washington Wizards. Mike was a manager for Coach Turgeon at Maryland.
Yep.
Got into some internships in the NBA and went from being a guy who was kind of doing practice stuff, passing balls, to now he's sitting with a suit and tie on the bench as a staff member. So the opportunities that can come from being a manager are just as great, maybe even greater, than being a player. I mean, one of the best coaches in the business didn't play. Brad Stevens was a manager.
Right.
So opportunities that can arise from that can arise for you to being in that position are unbelievable. And we've had some great managers on High Street that are doing some unbelievable things because of their opportunities that they use to get into college.
No joke. I know he does. Our program, there's a wait list.
Yeah.
A wait list to be a manager. And I keep a bunch. And we've had guys, some of your former players. Anwar Gill was
Coach,
a manager.
One of the best football players in the program today at Gonzaga, who's an underclassman, literally texted me today, Coach, can I be a manager?
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
we have football players. We've had guys. The kids love it, and I think they love the camaraderie, but Steve said it beautifully. I mean, it definitely sets those guys up for great opportunities.
Well, if I may, Double J, your question has been answered. Woo! You have been called the GOAT here, and it sounds like you were a manager that, so what you're telling me is if you can go back, you'd love your managers to pattern him.
Oh, no doubt. no doubt. I mean, he's Johnny on the spot, and his ability to, it takes a special person to sometimes already know what he almost feels like he knows what the coaches want and is able to just go get it done without you asking. It's invaluable.
He's a funny boy.
Well, Double J, thank you for being someone who we all know that your your program is only as strong as your coach, as strong as your players, as strong as your parent, support system and your managers. And guys, that's very important to recognize these young men and women, depending on wherever you coach, not just these two guys, to recognize them for the hard work they put in. And hopefully there are some students out there who are listening who, at some point realize, if I'm not going to make varsity, maybe I could be a manager. I can still be a part of all that. You guys laid out a plan that allows them to take those paths. Let's switch opportunities. Let's switch gears. And I personally have not kept up with the ins and outs of the NHL, but I do know the Caps are leading the league with 15 points. Coach O'Neill, you've been very vocal about hockey as knowing a bit more about it than we do. That's your lane. How is the NHL managing this different sort of seasons? I know the divisions are aligned. Like the Caps will play Buffalo. They'll play Pittsburgh. They'll play Rangers. So how is that all working out? You're watching it, I assume.
Definitely watching it. Again, it's not the same, just like the bubble was for the NBA last summer. But it's great to see the guys in those teams in their own arenas, and it is different. Again, Washington, the Caps will be their second of two with Boston, and then they go to New York, and then Philly comes in for 2 games. But you're literally only going to see those same 6 teams. So for Washington, it's going to be the Flyers, the Devils, the Sabres, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Penguins. It's those.
So they're going to have 15 games against 6 different teams.
Yeah. So it lines up to be, I think it's exactly 12 games with the same team. So you're going to get sick of those guys. Hockey, right? I mean, you get 1 game in, those guys are fisticuffs, and then the next game in those playoff series,
as soon as the puck drops.
It's on. Look, Washington, I think they have tons and tons of depth. What they've done, the NHL has given those, I wouldn't call it the scratch list, but I got to look up the name of it. But you can keep an extra, I think it's like 7 or 8 guys that are kind of in that second tier. So when you have a situation with Washington where 4 of the Russian players broke the protocol, they went into the same hotel room together, and because of the COVID protocols, they had to sit out 4 games.
Right.
You bring those guys up. You don't have to wait for them to come from the minor league affiliate. They're all there. So they got lots of depth. I think there's some beautiful hockey being played in the West, up in Canada, in the Midwest. I mean, it's definitely different, but they'll be prepared and ready to go. The problem is if you do get to the playoffs, then you've got to play Pittsburgh again or New York or whoever it is. But then you're going to see a team you have no idea about.
Watch some film.
Literally, right? You have no idea what Vancouver's doing or Montreal or Toronto's having a
some guys somewhere in the organization are going to find their worst because they better be watching those games and putting those games on film and start studying those guys so when we get to playoff time.
But I think NHL right now has the beauty of the names we all know. Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin.
Isn't he like 137 years old by now?
Crosby?
Yeah.
No, he's actually, I think, a year younger than Ovechkin.
Ovechkin's
about 34, 35.
Yeah.
And he's in a contract year, but there's some unbelievable talent that not as many people. Like Edmonton's got this kid who might be the best player. I think it's Connor McDavid is his name. I got to look it up. But hockey's strong for those hockey people. I love seeing it.
Ovechkin will be 36 this year.
36.
He'll be 36 this year.
So it's moving along, and I think they made the best of what they could do to have the the East, the South, the Central, and then the North or whatever it is, West.
Again, I'm not paying a ton of attention, but I'm not hearing a lot about games being postponed.
No, they've done a pretty decent job, and as you know, only the Canadian teams are playing each other up there in Canada. They'll cross that bridge when they get to the playoffs. But it's coming soon. I mean, it is a whirlwind. They're playing, I think, 52 games, and before you know it, we'll be in May, and hockey playoffs will be rolling.
Bingo, Jack. All right. How bad are the Wizards, and what needs to happen here? They're last in points allowed, worst record in the league. Westbrook turned it on yesterday against KD. Let's not forget that was against KD. But he doesn't do back-to-backs. What's the solution here in D.C. for the worst team in the NBA?
You think the worst team?
Record-wise, they're the worst team in the NBA. They give up a ton of points. You said it before the season started.
Defense is what I said. Defense is the biggest difference.
Right. You said, can they stop anybody? You said that.
They cannot stop anybody.
Brooklyn can't either,
and it brings up the question of, I mean, defensively, I was listening the other day about, what changes do they make? Is it the coaching staff? Is it the players? They get rid of guys? I honestly
have my
don't
opinion,
have
but
the
I want to
answer.
hear from Coach Turner on that. Worst record in the league. Westbrook doesn't play back-to-backs.
2 of the 4 wins are against the Nets.
I don't know that they can do it, and I hate it. I hate saying this, but blow it up and start over.
That's what I think too.
I don't. The guys that they're stars, take up too much money.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that they can attract enough guys, in the right financial realm to make it be the best that they can make it be. I think you got two guys right now that got some worth. Go blow it up. Go blow it up. Bring in some young talent that aren't on their second contracts yet.
Right.
Go get some draft choices.
Breaks my heart.
I hate saying it, but
Bradley Beal's wife doesn't want to be here, right? She sent out a tweet last week that said sick of it, shaking her head. Because he dropped 47. What was it last week? And he scored a ton of points, by the way. He dropped 47, and they're losing.
A ton of points.
Yeah.
But does he play good defense?
I don't watch enough Wizards.
At the end of the day, the most successful teams play team defense. Let's be honest. Some of our best players in the world aren't the best defenders.
Right.
They put butts in the seat because they can score the ball.
But they have guys.
But they have other guys
will protect the rim
exactly.
and make the defensive adjustments
Exactly.
and box out and do the little things.
I don't think the Knicks are hugely talented, but Thibodeau, his name is actually said Thibodeau, preaches defense, and they're getting some wins this year.
And they are.
Yeah, they're getting some wins. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but to get into the playoffs or make some sort of run.
I'm sure it's got the people in New York a little more excited though,
because
there's an opportunity for them to start moving forward.
Because you would have thought New York, this would have been another 2 years at least.
Right. But Julius Randle is playing his little tail off. He is playing his tail off. Cleveland and Charlotte are officially on the playoff radar, albeit it's still a little early, but teams like Toronto, Miami, and Dallas are grossly underperforming. Steve, this is closer to what you mentioned as seeing some new blood in the mix. Are we going to see some of the lesser successful teams finally break through? Charlotte is proper in the playoffs right now.
I guess my question would be is this a short-term deal because of COVID? I still have to believe that COVID right now has all the sport world a little different than it normally would be. Certainly, I'm a believer in trying to see some new faces and new teams rise. I think those three teams that said are underperforming, got some injuries, got some guys not playing every single night. I think they have the pieces to be able to get back in a normal situation.
And keep in mind,
back to being those teams that we expect them to be. So I just think it's again another unique year. Happy to see a Cleveland, happy to see a Charlotte overachieving to some degree. Just gives another look at some guys who are pretty darn good in the league that don't normally get a little love.
Which is exactly right. And I go back to last year in the bubble. I don't think anyone expected Denver to make the run that they made. At least I didn't.
Or Phoenix.
Or Miami or Phoenix. And in these odd situations, it's just going to work for different teams.
Right. Well, when you take a look at...
I don't care about Cleveland, but it's cool to see Charlotte make a run.
When you take a look at teams, the visiting team in the NFL and in the NBA is having hugely more success than they normally do because you don't have fans in the stands egging on the refs to make a call because it just would make the crowd go crazy. Right. So we're not seeing as much of that as we were when fans were in the stands. But right now, OKC, the Kings, forget all them. The Mavericks and the Pelicans, who are supposed to be teams, Mavericks are supposed to be well in there, and the Pelicans are supposed to be making moves. They've got a young core that is in their second contracts, so they're supposed to be doing some things. But COVID or no COVID, the Wizards still suck. How about that?
I just hate saying that they suck.
I know, but
they got some talent. But,
I'm not a Wizards fan, but I want to see them do well.
I would love to see them do well.
They just don't have enough.
This is a basketball city. Everybody says it, but when they're successful, or Maryland or Georgetown, it's the best.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't think
even GW, like just that.
I don't think free agents are willing to. It's not an exciting place to play right now because of the history.
I think if you look at the history, and I'll go back to Juwan, Strickland.
Ooh, Strickland.
C-Webb, Googs.
Did you just say Tom Gugliotta?
Yeah, NC State.
You
ask him.
You had DC's a gift and a curse.
What was it? McLean, Don
McLean, Tracy
McGrady? No.
Tracy Murray, shooter from the corner.
I still remember he's a 50-pointer. He had a couple 50-point games.
DC could be a gift and a curse, and right now might be the time to come to DC because of COVID. But when we're in a normal living,
we've always underperformed.
Our problem is not the underperforming. They get here and they party. This place can cause you.
Did you call for this?
To lose your mind.
Turn it up.
No, I didn't call for this. You're cutting into my answer, which
fan. DJ Krissy, you the man.
Come on, Steve. That's the reason I'm a Bullets fan. You remember this?
I remember this, but you cut my answer off.
But you keep going. I
can't talk over that.
No, I'm gonna turn it down for you. All right, Steve, give us your Washington Bullets Wizards song.
See what happens when you get these two little brothers together. They start singing jingles. And oh, Lord. I don't know what I'm going to do with the two of them. But back to my answer. DC, gift and a curse. Right. Unbelievable city. Can get to the best of them to not keep their eye on the prize.
Wow.
And maybe people are hearing that, and that's why they don't come here.
I don't know.
Caps. Nationals, baby.
Mystics. Hello.
Mystics.
All right. I know the answer to this question, but we're in Super Bowl week. Well, I know the answer to the second question. Do we have a final line, score, or prediction before we head into Super Bowl 55? Coach O'Neill.
Well, let's make it fun. Let's make it worthwhile.
Okay.
$1. Everybody in? Chris, are you in?
So whoever gets closest, they get a $4 pot? I'm going to put in $2.
Closest. Now, you have to predict the correct winner.
Okay.
So if we were to all pick the same, closest by point. So we're going to put these scores down. Am I going first?
You're going first.
All right. Last week I said Kansas City, but I did have a disclaimer. I said I could change my mind, and I've changed my mind.
Uh-oh, this is a pivotal point right here.
It's late in the podcast. I'm going Tampa Bay 28.
Mm-hmm.
KC 24.
All right.
Some BS. That was my score.
Krissy, what you got over there?
Swear to God, that was my score.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Okay. And what's your score, young lady?
I'm going to say 20-13.
She got an odd score there, but all right. I'll go next. I'll let you have it last so you can ponder since he stole your score. I'm going to go Kansas City 38.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Tampa Bay 17.
Oh, smack them.
Wow.
They're going to smack him. Eric Bieniemy's pissed. He's going to dial up some stuff.
Wow.
Steve, you're up.
And I'm going with the GOAT. I'm gonna ride with the GOAT on this one. TB.
All right.
TB, and I'm gonna go.
He's gonna pull the showcase showdown on me. Go
27.
Oh, you are 24, aren't you?
No.
27.
23.
23. He went showcase showdown on you.
We both have a 4-point difference. It's
Yes,
all right.
you do.
We'll just split the earnings.
So we're going right here, right now. I'm going to put $2 in. Everyone else puts $1 in. And we're going, Steve, Tampa Bay 27, Kansas City 23. Casey, Tampa Bay 28, Kansas City 24. Kurtis, Kansas City 38, Tampa Bay 17. Krissy's going Kansas City 22, Tampa Bay 13. Any chance Tom Brady rides off into the sunset?
I hope so.
I don't think he does.
No,
I don't think he does.
He's the guy that's gonna play until I don't want to wish any ill will, but
You gonna go Troy Aikman?
He's the guy that plays till he's done. This is it. We won't even hear about him anymore. He's bought some remote island and he's surfing and he just rides it. When he does do it, he's gonna really just ride in the sunset. He ain't gonna be on broadcast and he's gone.
He's going to Instagram like once a year.
Something like that. Something like that.
From an island somewhere.
But just for the storyline, I got to go with him.
All right. Well, we'll be back with our final word in a weekly quote. Be sure to listen now at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Become a friend of the program. Friendship contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend.
Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By advertising with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. In Season 1, we reached a total of more than 100,000 listeners, viewers, subscribers, and website visitors combined. Your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Advertising with Turner and O'Neill equals exposure on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and more than 15 listening platforms total. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand. The final word is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. We are back, and now it's time for our final word, some thanks, and of course our weekly quote this week offered by Coach Steve Turner. We want to invite you to become a friend of the program. Become a friend of the program. To do so, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. You know, we do rely on, our advertisers and our friends of the program to help us out a little bit because, it takes a bunch to make this happen, and you guys always come through for us. So if you want to become a friend of the program for as little as $25, your name will be said every episode. You'll go up on the website. We need you to become a friend. If you'd like to build your brand with our audience of thousands on 15 podcast platforms, Coach Turner, I'm not going to say every platform we're on because you're going to bring me back to week 4, and that was funny as hell. But 15 podcast platforms, YouTube, and via our social media platforms, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click partnerships. For as little as $25 per episode, your brand can be represented here on Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. We want to get social with you. On Facebook and Instagram, it's at Turner O'Neill Podcast. On Twitter, it's at Turn On Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Follow, like, add, and spread the word. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more than 15 podcast platforms, including YouTube. Feel free to email your show questions, content ideas, comments, and critiques. We may not get to all submissions, but John Jones, we got to you today. And we want to hear from you guys at turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com. Before we sign off, thanks to Chick Hernandez, today's guest. Chick, you were awesome. Thanks for being that guy. Thanks for dropping your nuggets of information and your, how would I say it, he's doing it his way. There's some comedy there. There's some serious stuff there. There's a lot to learn from Chick. Chick, thank you for being on our show. We must thank our engineer, DJ Krissy, you two gentlemen, Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill, as well as Paula. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners. We encourage our audience to support those who support us. Krissy, any final thoughts?
Chick Hernandez is a funny guy.
Oh, gosh, yes. He is. He is. And you were crying, Krissy.
I was crying.
You've cried like 3 times on this episode. Twice were for serious matters. Once because you could not stop laughing today.
I couldn't even say hello to the man.
Well, we like it when you laugh and you have a good time on the show because that means we're having a good time. Gentlemen, Coach O'Neill, any final thoughts?
Super Bowl week, everybody. Enjoy the week. Whatever you're going to cook, do it safely. Speaking of being safe, a lot of snow out there, so let's all drive safely, but drive appropriately in the snow. Some people just have no idea what they're doing. Anyway, last thing I'll say is to our guest, I think just the way Chick was tonight, is a reminder to everybody in this world, be you. Just be you. Be who you are. And I mentioned it. Don't be a robot. Be yourself. Coach T.
My final word is I enjoy being at this table every single Monday, and I want to make sure our audience knows and that you guys don't forget, thank you for when you decided to do this. It was important to you guys for me and DJ Krissy to be a part of it, so we thank you for that.
Thank you, Kurtis.
Greatly welcomed, and just blessed to be able to have you guys be a part of this. And you guys know I say it all the time. Monday's my day. And
the floor is yours.
Excited to be back here with you guys again. Definitely anybody who's just getting out and about in this the weather we got going on out there, please be safe and continue to wear your mask. Vaccine's coming. Get it. Let's all be healthy. And I talked about it. We used the word a couple times in some different things that we talked about today, and that was change. We need everybody to help be able to make a change. And my quote today is from Barack Obama. A change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. Be a part of helping to make change. You don't have to be extraordinary to make change. Just be ordinary. Do your part.
DJ Krissy, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our advertisers. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without the written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more than 15 podcast platforms in total. You can also view Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill weekly on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episode drops. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Advertising opportunities are available.